Okay, so I've recorded this video like maybe 3 or 4 different times. This is just the behind the scenes look at everything, but I keep getting sidetracked and shit like that, so I'm just gonna roll with it. This is gonna be one take. I'm not gonna edit it. I'm going to filter, obviously, what I put on screen, but 90% of it, this is like mostly the video. I'm not going to explain the whole process because I think it's rather boring. And the process of making videos, it just it's not very fun unless it's not very fun until you get to the end. So I'm just gonna get fucking right into it. So originally what I was going to do is have this timeline graphic. And I got as far as modeling out, I think, every single year I plan to cover up until now. So this is the original graphic that I was going to use for the whole, all the transition slides. Where I would just like slide over. I had animations paired with these. I'm not even sure if they're still paired. They're not, because I guess at some point I changed that. But yeah, so these things went all the way up to now. Yeah. So this was going to be the original format of the video because it's a very easy structure to write around. It's what I already wrote around it. Like, when I was starting out research with this, like, I figured that this was the format I was going to use. And that's mostly because I'm not a writer. I'm not very good at writing. I don't think I ever have been. But I feel competent. I have, like, maybe the base amount of competency you can have, like, to be maybe acceptable. What I wanted to excel at was the research and the presentation. So I think I did that. All the comments on the video seem to reflect that. Thank you, by the way. All the comments really do make the fucking Odyssey worth the journey. Damn it, I'm getting sidetracked. Like, this is... I've had like 5 different recordings of this where I just get sidetracked, and I never really explain that much. Anyway, so that was what the original version of the video was going to be. And it still kind of is that to an extent, but, so, also originally, there was a sequence of drums, if that makes sense. It was going to be sort of like the part where I'm talking about Operation Sun Devil and Bruce Escobel and the raid. It wasn't really a raid, it was just like they're carrying out a warrant. But the Operation Sun Devil, I was going to have a sequence where it was like these... I'll put it on screen, but it was like these instruments are different elements in the scene, and then they're going to be the drawings like overlaid on top of it, and it was going to be like Betrayed Very Intense. It was going to rise, and I had Radioland make a track. It is a wonderful track. I've listened to it, but I may use it in the future, so I don't really want to release it now. Plus, it's not really mine to release. It's kind of Radioland's if he wants to or not. Yeah. So that track was written. It's very good. And it sort of like rises in chaos, but like obviously the story that Bruce Escobel had didn't have that. And it was very subdued. Like his raid wasn't, like I said, it's not really a raid. His situation was very subdued. It was very clinical. It was like, I spend 2 hours in the office to fill out some paperwork and I go home. It didn't fit. That and just the pacing was going to get all like bunched up if I just like kept spending time on this for it to properly build up. I think in the future I have an idea, specifically the next video, I have an idea of where to use that, so maybe expect it in the next video, but that right now I'm still in the research phase. This hopefully it won't take another 6 months, but no promises. I do have to do a bit of traveling for filming, and I have to get camera equipment, which I don't really know how to operate cameras. It's not my forte. I'm an editing and animation guy. It's not my strong suit. Anyway, by the way, so videos like this, I might make like a second channel for like me talking or rambling like this, sort of. But really, this is going to be like for Patreon. This is like extra scraps onto the pile of slop, I guess. I mean, I think that's kind of what all of YouTube is just slop, to be honest. I'm getting stuck on, I'm not very good without a script. And I think that'll be very evident as I release more rambling videos. Like, I plan to do some kind of podcast. I know we need another one of those out in the world, but it's more like a supplemental thing to the main content, which is these high production videos that I do all these animations for. All right. Anyway, I think this is the correct file for, so I'm going to go over the cut stuff. There's this. Now, this is one of the highest poly count scenes that I had. Almost none of the assets are done by me, which is probably why I didn't include it. But I did work on the shot here, and it only runs at 20 FPS. It is struggling to load this because this is quite a demanding scene, like even with the lines. And it's because everything inside the buildings are rendered. I don't know why it's like that. I'm sure there's some setting in the asset pack that I could adjust. But I wasn't gonna do that because I decided fairly late, unfortunately, that I was not even gonna include the section where this follows a supplier taking something from his workplace, getting home, becoming paranoid about whether or not he's getting caught, and then he gets caught. The issue is that I didn't have any personal accounts really to base that off of. And the reason I went with Sun Devil instead is because that is basically the only personal account of one of these raids that I was able to find publicly. I'm sure there are some private accounts of certain raids. I know Fairlight had some pretty extensive documentation, relatively speaking, for the Operation Fastlink raids, I'm pretty sure. I think those are the ones where I got these pictures from. Let me show those. There are people that I think are private individuals that I don't want to show here, so I'm just going to show the cops pulling up and taking the computers. So this one, and these aren't technically all in the public, but I don't want to get someone's face in my video that I don't really need to illustrate a point. This one as well, more just taking the computer back there. These are obviously featured in the video, so I don't mind these being out there. And you know, they're very interesting pictures. I think there's, ooh, I don't know if this is going to spawn on my screen or not. But there's another one from inside, like, a campus dorm that, like, shows the other people there, and they're, like, spying on the police from across the way. Like, they're looking out to where the guys are getting raided. That photo is very interesting, and I did think about including that, but there's some people's faces in it that I don't really want to do. But 90% of the research for this video, and I'm still compiling. I'm sorry about that. Like, it's just going to take a while due to, like, how many I have in here. There's 189 bookmarks here, and I didn't even use all of them, like, in the actual writing of the video. So I have to, like, sort through my sources here. Right, the de facto 2 archive. Here we are. So this site, Godsend. Hold on, I'm making sure that I'm not going to spoil what the next video is. Okay, I have to bring it over like that so that the bookmarks don't come up for my next video. So this is the de facto 2 archive. They are an archive of all, like, the PC and Ware scene. Like, sorry, not all the PC scene, just like the Ware scene, like the cracking scene. And they have a general outline, like, year by year. And I didn't discover this until, like, I was, like, halfway through writing the video. But this would have been helpful. Like, there's some kind of important things I even miss here. Because, like, what I was using the de facto 2 archive for was these files here. These files, cracktros, BBS ads, fucking magazines, and art. I mean, this is essentially a good portion of visuals for the video. These are, like, also just invaluable in general, like, to have publicly. Like, these, like, cracktros are some of the coolest and oldest forms of internet art, like, ever seen. And a lot of them, like, just stand on their own. There's especially, I'm a little afraid to scroll down because some of them are, like, pretty inappropriate, but some of these, like, cracktros and demos and all these sorts of things, Fairlight, Defiance, Razor 1911, those, and Drink or Die. I do like Drink or Die's, some of their stuff. I like this logo. It's very 2000s. And it's like a cool, in the 2000s sort of way. This one I didn't get a chance to use, but I would have loved to. This is cool. And then there's this one. This one's also pretty fucking sick. Like, these are just awesome. But, like, these guys' styles are, and Illusion has really good art as well. These guys' styles, like, just fucking blew me away. Like, outside of even the scene that they're in, like, genuinely, there's a very strong artistic merit in a lot of these. This as well, just some classic, like, 2000s cool shit. I'm sort of just kind of doing a slideshow now. But I'm trying to show, like, all the stuff I wasn't able to in the video because I think these clearly had some work put into them. And it's a shame to just leave these out in the cold when some of these look this cool. And that's, I suppose that is just to my eye, but I do genuinely think these are very nice. And this logo I ended up just using to represent Fairlight as a whole. because I think it's the most distinct and it's the most stylistic, and frankly, it just looks cool, like, on your screen. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, none of my visual decisions were extremely deep, unless I was, like, trying to convey a concept that is, like, somewhat technical, but, like, explaining it in a very simple way. I think the visual aid helps a lot with that. And that's what I put my most thought into, which is why the second half took a lot less time than the first half. The second half is probably 3 months, and then the last half is probably 1 month. Like, everything after the Patreon ad, like, that was probably a month of gathering stuff, because it's a lot easier to come by footage from the 2000s than it is footage from, like, the 70s about computers. And there are some things, but there's a lot of things that just don't relate. And it is a little ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. And it's something I'm going to have to shirk, because, like, I've noticed that, like, YouTubers do not always use, like, super relevant visual. Like, it's tangentially related, essentially. It's, you know, they're talking about computers. There's, like, a guy putting in a RAM stick or some shit, and they're talking about, like, you know, CloudStrike going down, for like, globally, for the entire world, like, no airport running or some shit. I guess for the average person, it's probably petty, but whenever I see that, it just, like, it irks something in my brain. It's like, there's got to be something more related to that, which is probably why this took so long, and I'll do my best to shirk it, for the next video, because I do want it out in a timely manner. You know, but I'm going to have to see how that works. There's certain wars I'd like to talk about. I'm not going to get into that. Just, I don't want to, like, promise something that I don't end up doing. You know, but there's certain controversial... I mean, the next video is going to be somewhat controversial. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's definitely not going to be monetizable. I wouldn't say that it should be age restricted, because I'm definitely going to heavily censor it, but it's definitely not going to be monetizable. And sort of maybe this is presumptuous, but sort of the angle I'm trying to go for is the H Bomber Guy approach, where, like, you release quality stuff, like, high quality stuff, a lot of investment, a lot of return in, a lot of research. And that's not to say I particularly endorse H Bomber Guy. I think he makes very good videos. I know he has some weird stuff in his past or something, but that's really about it. He's just a good example of this. Is, like, very he's very community supportive, or supported, and I think that's probably the way to go about things if you're trying to talk about something controversial. And I would like to have the ability to do that. You know, I don't really like having censors dictate what I can and can't cover, because what I like to cover is just my own interest. Every video I cover, at least, like, all the ideas that I have are just of my own interest. I'm already interested in all these. I should probably get the Fairlight off the screen. Sorry, I don't mean to imply that I'm part of Fairlight. If if any of that gets, like, clipped out of context, as in out of the context that I was showing Fairlight stuff. And also, this is Brawler's World. Very, very talented artist. I love them. Follow them on Twitter. Dang, I lost my place. Something about community support. I don't know. Something. Anyway, I'm going to go over more files. This is definitely going to be my worst video so far. One of two, I guess. Could be worse. Alright. Sorry, I'm looking for my Blender folder. Here we are. Okay. Here we are. Okay. So this I showed in the Patreon preview. In the bumper. Oh, holy. Oh, it's crashing my computer. Hold on. It's loading all the textures. Alright. That's so weird because this is not an intensive scene. So this is the shot that I knew would be probably my most visually realistic. And, you know, you can see it now in just the non-rendered view, and this looks like shit, obviously. But, like, going to rendered view, and, like, this is definitely one of the more resource-intensive scenes. I didn't mean to click on that one. Oh, my God. So, you know, you got the detailed windows, you got the outside, which is just a JPEG with a smoke, like, video over it. Where did I even put it? Here it is. Like, this is literally just a video of smoke. Shout out Eden Hubert for this pack. I wish I could still be a part of that Patreon, but, you know, money's tight. Especially, seeking it all into videos. So, and then this is a little Easter egg. You can see it at the end of the video. This is, you know, the book it's based off. Where's, I think it's like The Art and Aesthetics of Piracy or something like that. It's a free book. I can like link the whole thing in the description. It's Creative Commons. So that's nice. And then there's another one that's Software Piracy Exposed. That book I read a third book, but I ended up not using that much. And then like the rest is like articles and papers and shit like that. So this thing, I wanted to include some sort of nod to the book in the actual like meat of the video, because it's a really good book. There's definitely like a political slant to it, which I don't mind. Like the author's clearly a leftist, and he kind of views it as some. It's weird. He kind of like frames it as like a weird free market, or like some. I don't know how to phrase it, but you'd understand if you read the book, and please do read the book. It is pretty excellent. But I'm just saying that there is that political slant in there, and I think it's even like a good observation to make. I'm not saying anything about the observation, but yeah. And then I also included some Easter eggs in the form of this stupid-ass conversation between King Slav, Crinkle Husky, Nick Cheesy, Bomb Manufacturer. Like, there's even more to this in the actual like video. This is just a video sort of under a shader. And that last part isn't even in the full video. And there's even more after that too. Hold on, let me pull up the video here. So this is the actual like video that it's pulling from. And this is me essentially just copy and pasting a conversation I made with myself. And like editing it together. This actually took a lot of time as well because it's yeah, that's the end of the conversation. Sorry, it's so stupid and juvenile, but I do find it very funny. And then there's this one. This one. This is very briefly like there's the fucking Lucasfilm. What is it? I forget what his company is, but it's essentially like the Lucasfilm's games. I'm sure it says somewhere on here. LucasArts? Yeah, LucasArts. So I like recreated the box from images I found on eBay. I did that with a lot of those. I think every single floppy disk, all the labels are just straight from eBay, where I just ripped the photo and like cropped it so it'd be a good texture and kind of like angled it. Some of them didn't turn out so great, but most did. Okay, unplanned interruption. Whoopsie. Where was I? Right, I'm just going to run through the videos that the scenes that I made directly for the video. This also has an Easter egg to a source. This Byte magazine. This is like one of the first published works on Piracy. Just like a niche periodical. And it's also an interesting read. I think I included some screenshots of it at the beginning of the video, like when I was first. I'm not sure if I ever took those out or not. It's been a long time since I looked at the first part of the video. I can hardly even stomach listening to it. At this point, I've probably watched it maybe thousands of times and fucking. I can't listen to it anymore. I can't watch it anymore. But yeah, hold on, actually. So this bed, this texture, it looks terrible, and I'm sure everyone sees that. But the reason it looks like that is because I could not find a bedsheet texture for the life of me. So I ended up using tinfoil. So this is like smoothed up, blurred up tinfoil that I tried to make look like a bedsheet. And I know it looks bad in the actual video. But hopefully like visual stuff like that will not be a problem in the future. Really, that's all that's kind of interesting as far as like how I made it went is just like the scenes from the ground up that are like not explaining things. I don't like really the scenes where I'm explaining things because it feels like it's context that you have to have for the greater whole. It took a very long time for me to get to a place where I could like, I don't want to use the words dumb things down, but right now that's the only words I can really come up to describe it. Like dumb things down to where the audience, like a general audience would have any sort of idea of what I'm talking about without just tuning out. And maybe I didn't even achieve that. I'm sure some of the explanations are kind of technical, especially when you see a bunch of like random strings. I probably should have, made those more representative of like a general idea rather than like an accurate example of what it would look like. I have a very detrimental obsession with like authenticity in show, like the technical aspects of things. Like if I'm able to show an actual photo or an actual video of like a core hearing or something, I'll like try to get the video of that. A lot of times it's not available. If I'm able to get the real documents for something, I'll try and get that, but a lot of times that's not available. There's a lot of court records that are just like expunged. Some of the Fairlight records, sorry, not Fairlight, Fastlink records specifically are expunged. I tried to get those like through like requesting court documents, but the only things that were available were names. There's no information on the actual trial because most of it was just off, taken off the record for like, I don't know, plea deal or good behavior. They just like applied for it or appealed it or something. I don't know exactly how the court system works other than like requesting documents. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't like something like that on my record. Let's see. Not to say piracy is like a particularly heinous crime. It's, of all the crimes you could commit, this is probably like the least harmful one. And right, okay. Quick aside, there was a section where I sort of went into my opinion about like the numbers that IBM was bringing to the subcommittee hearing, and I love the editing on that part as well. That I'm very proud of myself for that whole section. But those numbers, as far as I can tell, they're not substantiated by anything. As far as I can tell, only real evidence that those numbers are real is the fact that they attested to it under penalty of perjury. And I don't even know if that's how subcommittees work. There's no study that came with it. I tried to track something like that down. I wasn't able to for any of that time period. There was like almost nothing on that number. And that number even now seems kind of ridiculous. Like 800 million due to piracy? What software are you making that's like so necessary that like, or how expensive even is your software that like it's getting pirated into oblivion like that? I have the subcommittee hearing right here.
God damn.
Alright, whatever. This video is going on long enough. I am going to quit rambling and get to some sort of outro. By the way, all my videos will have like associated playlists for all the music that's in them. And I'm going to try to do that with a Pastebin as well for all the sources. I think I need a Pastebin account, which I don't have. So I'm going to have to do that tonight. But it is almost 1 a.m. I have to get to bed soon. So I'm going to end that video here.